I got a DWI after a stretch of debauchery and drinking that led me to getting in some trouble. I just remember being in that jail cell and all I could think about was wanting to drink more and more and more. It was my coping mechanism. It was my crutch. That's what I relied on. It's what I leaned on. I was a very shy kid, very insecure kid. And so I used alcohol to loosen up and, again, try to make friends. I just always wanted to make friends. And so I would go out of my way to do stupid things and show out. And it was just unhealthy, right? And it all stemmed from not loving myself and not being happy with who I was. And I decided to give up drinking a few months after that. And that's when I picked up a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it just opened up doors to the possibility of what my life could be. I went about life still struggling with feeling inferior, less than, and I've done a lot of work to learn where that stemmed from. That stemmed from being a kid and having a dad that was in a wheelchair and he was paralyzed, and I would go to basketball games and I'd be walking in front of my dad and my dad would be behind me pushing into the basketball court, and kids would be like, "Mommy, what's wrong with him? Like, why is he like that? Why can't he walk?" And so I always, as a kid, said, I'm like, what's wrong with him? Okay, so what's wrong with me? I must be different. Something must be wrong with me. Something must be wrong with my family. And so I told myself that story for a long time. And that was part of the reason why I drank. I was shy. I wanted to feel loved. I didn't want people to think I was different. I didn't want people to think that I was a weird kid or I had a weird family or there's something wrong with me. When I got in college, I was still showing up in a way of desperation, just wanting people to appreciate me. And so the way that I coped with that feeling was to work super fucking hard, make a lot of money, grind my ass off, and anything a 22-year-old kid could want. I paid for school, I paid for my car. And during that time also, I wanted to showcase everything that I was doing at such a young age that was, well beyond my years. And so I wrote a book. And as I was writing that book, I was talking about my childhood and my upbringing. And I realized as I was writing about my life, my entire life was about this story of being a victim. I literally looked at the page and was like, holy shit. Like, I've manifested a bunch of great stuff, but also a bunch of negativity because I kept telling myself that I was different. And I'm really not that different. Like, we all have those weird things. Maybe somebody in our family has cancer, somebody in our family has special needs, or somebody in our family, so maybe one of our parents has passed away. Like, I'm no different from everybody else. Yeah. And so that was one of the really difficult things to deal with, was the realization that my identity had been created by this negative self-image that really wasn't necessarily true. It was the hardest thing to go through, was because a lot of what I wrote in that book was almost blame on my parents for not providing the life that I wanted when they worked so hard to get me to where I was.
Yeah. Were you also comparing yourself at that point with the other kids that had something else?
100%.
Because I remember doing that when I was a kid too, right? Oh, Mom, look at so-and-so. They have a tremendous huge house. Why don't we have one? Like, we live in a good house, but no. I want the big house.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Yeah. I did that all the time. I remember coming home like, Mom, Dad, Mr. X, their house is so crazy. They have a pool in their backyard and they have a pickleball court and a basketball court and they have a movie theater upstairs. And like, you should have seen their spiral staircase. And I look back now and I always wonder like what my parents felt in that moment. I have so much empathy now for them, because if I had kids and they came home and they were saying that stuff to me, how would that make you feel as a parent? Would you be happy for your kid for experiencing an awesome day? And I'm sure, but at the same time, maybe you feel like you're not doing enough or you didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And now, like, I do everything in my power every time I see my parents to tell them how grateful I am and how thankful I am.
And you start realizing that the best gift, at least for me, your parents can give you is a good foundation of family and moral values.
Yes.
Everything else comes and goes.
You need to take with that what you want. Yeah, but if you don't have a strong launch pad, you're not going to have anything to jump off of.
Yeah. And then you're going to be struggling in your life trying to build it on your own.
Yeah.
It's going to take time, right? Because you never had that foundation.
I mean, just something as simple as love and support, and your parents coming to your band recital, dance recital, or your football game. Not a lot of kids get that, man.
Yeah.
And I had all of that. I had no reason whatsoever to feel that I didn't have an amazing upbringing. Yeah, for anybody listening, if you have food on your table, if you have a roof over your head and parents that tell you that they love you, you are well ahead of many, many other kids out there.